Right, so time to get started with the bassline, the infamous Psytrance bassline. It's basically just a saw wave with a filter on it, and then often plays to these 16th notes. Well, I mean, we're gonna do that in this track. Um, I'm gonna open up Omnisphere because that's what I've been using for Psytrance basslines, and explain why in just a second. You can do this with pretty much any synthesizer. You don't have to have Omnisphere to do this, but it just makes things easier for me for a number of reasons. The most important thing when you're doing a Psytrance bassline like this is you need to have a synth that is able to lock the phase of the waveform that you're using. I'm just opening Silent, sorry. Silence quickly just so we can see preset. It's just clear. What I'm talking about is the phase here for the synth. You need to be able to re-trigger it, and you need to be able to sweep through the phase to kind of set the start point for the actual saw wave that it's playing. You can do this in Serum, you can do this in Massive. The main thing is when you have it set to re-trigger, when the re-trigger is turned off, when you have the filter on, let's just set up this quickly. You can kind of hear already it's a little bit floppy. And the reason being because the start point's kind of jumping around the wave all the time. So when you actually hit re-trigger, see immediately it's tightened it up a little bit because now it's starting at the same point every single time. And you can see when you kind of dial the phase into that point there, it's clicking nicely. Another way around this is that you can actually resample bass lines, which is also a good way to do it, which means that you'd actually make your sound here in silent and then render it to audio and then drag that into a sampler channel. It's super easy now in Cubase as well. You can just we'll just put a note in there, and if you open up a new sampler channel, you can now just simply drag the note into the sampler window, and it will have mapped your bassline to that sampler track automatically. But one of the reasons I use Omnisphere now is because it actually already incorporates sampled waveforms already, so there's no need to go and resample stuff. You can go and use these generated ones, but then you need to make sure that you turn analog all the way down, just for the same reason that you need the phase and stuff locked into place. But if you go to sample, you have a selection of actual sampled waveforms that you can go through. Let's have a look. There we go. So there we have a saw wave that's actually sampled from a Prophet, and it's a sample, so there isn't any of this jumping around in the waveform at all. You can set the start point if you want, but this is basically already resampled for you. I'm actually just going to grab a preset that I've been using, or that I recently did. There's actually a great way to save time, is you can actually do channel presets. So it'll save the preset for the Omnisphere synth plus all the effects change and stuff that I've loaded with it. So I tend to keep all this stuff on file, just so I can come back and use these setups whenever I need to. Just do logical. We'll just find. Let's grab this one, and I'll walk you through the whole setup for this. So let's do a quick little MIDI pattern. Yeah. I shorten these notes a little bit, just so they don't run into each other. That's working. There we go. We'll do the same trick with that. Just keep those instanced. Let's just run through the patch quickly. Whoa. Not sure what's going on there with the GUI. There we go. So you can see I'm using a waveform. It's from a Korg Monopoly with this one. Change the start point slightly. And you want to turn on your filters. And I turn the key down. The key will basically map the filter to, if you turn this up, it'll be duller. Like the filter would be down the further down the key you go. And brighter as you go up. So turn that all the way down. We don't want that. We want it the same filter the whole way through. Envelope all the way up. So your filter envelope will be this one down here. What's quite cool with Omnisphere is you can actually, if you zoom in, if you have all your filter presets here, but if you actually zoom in, you can get quite in depth here and kind of work a little bit more. In this case, I'm just using a preset from this. I think it's a low pass. It'll be a 12 dB GC. That's the one. You can actually set them individually as well. You have different filter types in here. So we have our filter turned on. The envelope is the most important one though. So if we zoom in here, you can see the filter envelope. Normally you would just set it with these dials here, the ADSR sliders. But if you actually zoom in, it gives you the option to, draw in filter curves, which allows you to get much tighter. So what I've done here, you can see, you can actually set the curve of the envelope. If you right click, you can set curve, and then you can just drag that to make them nice and tight. So I don't want to mess with that preset. And there is a little bit of release, just so that when I'm playing the shorter notes, they don't cut off at the end. So there's a little bit of release on there, just when you play the shorter notes, it makes them nice and snappy. Cool. Let's just take a look at the processing for this. So like I said, this is part of the channel preset. So all the processing is actually already done. I'll just turn them off and run through them. So first things first, we'll just take a look at the EQ. This one, when I saved it, was actually in a different key of the bassline. What I do with these basslines is, for the EQ, sometimes I like to bring out the harmonics a little bit. So an easy way to do this is your root. We are in A0. So if you type A0, you'll see Cubase will just automatically set the frequency for A0. So if I push it all the way up, you can hear like a sine wave, which would be the root. I don't want to EQ that far down though. So we can start looking at the harmonics. So the odd harmonics is generally not what you want here. They'll kind of be create a bit of tension. I want to be boosting the sort of root note more. So we're looking at even harmonics, which would be each octave up. So if I play the note, this one here will be your second harmonic, which is even. This is your third, which will be uneven. That will be your fourth. So if you want to enhance these notes slightly, let's just play the loop. Again, we can just double click And instead of sweeping through the frequency, you can just type in A1, which will be 1 octave up. So you can, yeah, that's exactly an octave up there now. That would be your uneven harmonic. Yeah, it sounds almost like a fifth note. That's not what we're looking for, so let's just do that again. We'll go to A1. And you could even pull out another even harmonic higher up as well. If you turn on another one, and let's set this to A2, and that'll give us 220. Cool, so that's the reason for this EQ there. It's kind of dependent on each track how much you push, or if you need it. Sometimes you wouldn't need it, but I've got them set up there on the harmonics for the track that we are working on now, which is good. In this case, I've used sausage fattener just to boost a little bit. I'm actually going to remove this plugin because I've just gotten hold of this. We'll try 2 different distortion plugins here. VSM 3. So this one and the next one that I want to show you is basically driving harmonics. So you've got a second harmonic and the third harmonic. You'll see. So this is essentially what we were talking about now. Your odd and your even harmonics. So you can dial in your even harmonics, and we'll just turn this onto the second one only. And we can actually focus this on the lows as well. And then the other one that I've been using quite a bit is the HG2. Oops, not that one. From Black Box Analog Design, which looks like this. We'll just whack that into. I actually like the sound of that one more. It's got a fantastic sound. I use this on a master bus quite often as well. So I'm just worried about the pentode. This is the even harmonics once again. You can see what that does. It just adds just a lot of warmth and just kind of definition to your sort of low end, and especially your low mids, which is really important. Like a Psytrance bassline, it's not really focused around the sub frequencies at all. It's very much sort of low mids that you want to be focusing on. We can dial in some saturation as well. Maybe a little bit of the triode as well. Yeah, I actually kind of prefer that one to the sausage fattener in this case. It's a little bit smoother. Then often with Psytrance bass sounds, I often use a multiband distortion as well. There's something about the crossovers with it just kind of changes the sound quite a bit. So you see there's not a whole lot of actual distortion going on here. It's just a little bit of drive in the low mids, but play around with the actual frequencies. It can change the actual crossovers can change the sound quite a bit. We'll leave it there. There's a little bit of drive in the high mids as well, and I'm using the tape saturation. So yeah, just a bit of distortion to kind of just beef things up and harden that sound out a little bit. We'll go over to our virtual mix rack. This is probably overkill, but it worked on this bassline. This is basically just compression happening here. FG Bomber once again. I've just dialed this in just a tad, just to kind of enhance the click on the actual bassline. I'm using the Slate FG Stress compressor. Super simple. You just select your ratio at the bottom here and dial in the gain. And this, I'm actually going to remove that. I don't think in this case it's really necessary. It's just a preamp, so it's adding a little bit more color to the bassline as well. Cool. And EQ. Again, boosting the mids just to kind of make that bass kind of really pop into your face. We could sometimes also just take it on a little bit of 300 as well. Yeah, maybe just to kind of make sure that there's no mud. Cool. Also important, another Clean Sweep Pro. We'll dial this all the way up to about 40. Again, the subcontent's not really important here, so actually, you know what? We'll use this one as a filter to automate during the track. So I'll actually just do a low cut in the actual Cubase EQ. We'll set this one to around 40. And then let's just enable the automation. So we've got that for later on. We might as well. Might as well enable that one as well. So when we start automating and arranging the track, we've got our parameters already set up. So we can do stuff like cool. And you know what? I think we're going to actually add a shuffle to this track. Oh, actually, lastly as well, I'm just using mini chain. This is the post fader split. We don't need that now. We can leave everything pre-fader. So this is just a really simple version of VPS multiband sidechain. You just draw in your sidechain however you see fit. And that'll do. I'm gonna add a shuffle to this. So we're gonna work with 16th. I've got one set up for 25 swing. We'll set that quantize there, and then just hit my custom quantize keys, Control Q, and you'll see they just shift over slightly. Cool. Nice. All right. Next, we'll move on to adding some percussion and a few other elements. Cool. Catch you in the next one.